Hey, it's your local fish keeper Sabrina. First of all, I would like to apologize for the whole setup of this video. I don't have time to set up the mic and lighting and whatsoever because I'm sort of in a rush, because today I'll be taking you guys with me to take Aurora here. Say hi, Aurora. To the vet clinic. If you've been following Aurora's progress, her progress has been remarkable, but unfortunately earlier this year she went through an egg reabsorption period, and afterwards she just stopped taking her African night crawlers, her favorite salmon treats, and her pellets, and all she wants to eat now are frozen thawed shrimps. And of course, frozen thawed shrimps aren't really a good staple diet for her, so I'm going to have her checked as well as get her checked for her general well-being. So let's go. Before we get a move on, I thought I'd show you how I'm going to transport Aurora from my house to the vet clinic. So first of all, this is Aurora's carrier. It is indeed a normal ice box. So we're going to do some layering here now. So the first layer is going to be an ice bag. So I'll be putting an ice bag as the first layer. And then the second layer, I'm going to put this towel over the ice bag. Let's just imagine. So I'm going to put this towel over the ice bag just so that Aurora doesn't touch the ice bag directly. Next, I have this container with me. So I'm going to fill in this container with dechlorinated water, and then I'm going to place Aurora in here. This will be her main carrier container. Next, I'm going to next I have this battery powered air pump, which is going to be very useful during travel. So just here, it's battery powered. All the batteries are new, so I don't have to worry. It works just fine. I'm also taking with me another extra battery air pump because it's always good to have extras. Also, the doctor told me to bring in my own air pump, so yeah, two it is. Besides that, I'm also going to take with me this prime or any sort of dechlorinator, but prime for Aurora, especially for an axolotl, because I don't know if the doctor is going to have any dechlorinator with them, because just in any case, if they have to move Aurora from this container to another container, it's always good to have a backup prime. So that's that. And also, something on the internet that someone recommended to me is to bring my own turkey baster. In any case, if Aurora decided to do her deed, I can easily clean up after her. So yeah. Oh, also of course, the lid. Cover this lid. And then that's it. We're done. Hi again! So it's actually been a couple of days after the vet clinic visit. I remember being so nervous for Aurora all morning that by the time I got home, I was so tired I completely abandoned filming except for some B-rolls. It was actually my first time taking Aurora out of town, so I was really anxious about it. I live in a tropical country, so it can get quite hot and humid here, and if you know anything about axolotls, they do require a constant cool temperature at all times. Before I get into Aurora's main report, I thought I'd share with you some mental notes in case you're planning to take your axolotl to a clinic in the future. Firstly, check with your local vet clinic if they do treat exotics or are experienced in treating axolotls, and I can't stress this point enough. When I was 7 to 8 years old, my siblings and I had 2 pet tortoises, and at the time looking back, I believe they had very simple respiratory infections that is curable. But at the time, because we didn't know better, we took our tortoises to our local vet clinic, and that clinic did not treat exotics. But they went ahead and treated them anyways, which is, looking back, kind of, I don't know. But they treated them anyway, and long story short, our pet tortoises did not make it. And yeah, I don't want you to go losing your dear pets as well, so please check with your local vet clinic. Secondly is to plan your journey ahead, especially if you live in a warm area. Believe it or not, ice will melt. So what I did was I called the vet clinic ahead of time to ask them if they have any convenience store nearby them. Just in case if Aurora's ice bag did melt, I can just run to the store really quickly to replace the old bag if needed. And thankfully, they do have one nearby, and we were actually quite lucky that day because the traffic wasn't that bad, and we managed to find a parking spot directly opposite the clinic, so that was good. Thirdly is to call ahead of time and set up an appointment if possible. Again, ice will melt and you're sort of running on a limited time frame here, especially if you live in a warm area. So let them know when you're arriving so that you and your axolotl don't have to wait for so long in the waiting room. Now for Aurora. So a brief history on Aurora. Aurora is what we call a Minecraft axolotl that I rescued and adopted last year. And at the time, she had fungal infection, bacterial infection, saprolegnia, and constipation. It took about 5 months for her to fully recover, and thankfully everything went well. Frankly speaking, I have no idea how old Aurora really is because back then when I had her checked with a different professional, they mentioned that it is possible for Aurora to undergo growth retardation due to her previous conditions. Besides that, Aurora went through a difficult egg reabsorption period, and afterwards her appetite has decreased tremendously. She stopped eating her African night crawlers, her pellets, and also her favorite treat, which is the frozen thawed salmon chunks, and I knew something was wrong then. The only thing that she wants to eat at the moment are frozen thawed shrimps, and as we all know, frozen thawed shrimps aren't really the best staple diet for an axolotl. So that was my concern with Aurora. I'm very happy that the doctor was very gentle with Aurora because she tends to freak out when she's not familiar with someone or something. Aurora was such a trooper throughout the whole examination. So the doctor did a general examination on Aurora, and afterwards he checked for Aurora's skills. After a few more examinations and tests, it turns out that Aurora has a bacterial infection. I was allowed to be in the room throughout the whole examination process, so I managed to ask a lot of questions about Aurora and axolotls in general. The doctor was kind enough to list down a few common causes as to how an axolotl can get a bacterial infection. In Aurora's case, he mentioned that it is most probably due to the frozen thawed salmon chunk that I was feeding her. Perhaps it wasn't stored properly, or even if it's stored properly, maybe the counter that I was cutting Aurora's salmon chunk on wasn't clean enough. Secondly, a dirty filter. So during the examination, I gave them Aurora's complete water parameter readings and everything checks out. Thirdly is leftover food inside the tank. I don't know about your axolotl, but with Aurora, sometimes she likes to bury her poop and also her food inside the sand. So I do my very best to clean up after her every feeding time. Apart from that, the doctor also mentioned that the reason as to why Aurora has stopped eating could also be because she's just bored of her food. And apparently it's quite common among axolotls. Thus, the common saying, "My axolotl forgot how to eat." I did request for an x-ray for Aurora, but unfortunately at the time, the clinic's x-ray machine had some technical difficulties, so they couldn't perform it for Aurora. Maybe next time. At the end of the visit, Aurora was prescribed this small vial of medicine. It contains a mixture of erythromycin, which is an antibiotic, methylene blue, and some other good stuff that should help Aurora. I was instructed to give Aurora a daily bath with a drop of this mixture. The moment I reached home, I took out all of Aurora's ornaments and cleaned them, and then deep cleaned her whole entire tank, including her filters. I also threw out Aurora's frozen food in fear of contamination. Bottom line, I tried to get rid of all the possible risks and causes. So far, Aurora still hasn't accepted any African night crawlers yet, but it's a work in progress. And that's all for today's video. I hope you've enjoyed coming along with me and Aurora to the vet clinic. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to see more content, and please do comment down below as I would love to hear your thoughts and read your comments. Until then, have a lovely day and see you next time!